Welcome, everyone. Again, my name is Philip. I'm going to be your co-host tonight or today, depending on which time zone you are in. And my co-host Larry here is with me. He will be the expert, the drill drawing expert today. He's co-founder of Hockey Coach Vision. He's a former pro coach in Europe. He coached many famous teams in Switzerland. My brother was one of his players. So a lot of experience we have here today, and looking forward to see how Larry can help you guys. Quickly for just so you guys know, if you have any questions during the meeting, like if you see that, if you have a question about anything that Larry is drawing, just write it into the Q&A, and I will, if it's something that Larry might be answering directly, I will redirect the question to Larry and he will answer you directly. Or you can keep your questions until the end of the webinar. Like at the end, we will have the Q&A session with an open mic. So at that time, you will be able to raise the hand, and if you wish to, and I can let you speak. Or if you want to ask a question in Q&A, then I will answer it or Larry will answer it. All right. That will be it from my side.
All right, we're ready to
Larry,
go.
the word.
Yeah, so when Philip mentioned just raise your hand, so that's another feature of the Zoom call. So at the bottom, you'll see like on your board at the bottom, that's one of the options is raising hand. So we'll do that once I'm through the basic presentation. But like Philip said, you can put in your questions into the Q&A during the presentation, and Philip will answer directly. Or if he thinks that it's going to be interesting for the group, he'll redirect it to me, and then I'll answer the question online so everybody can see. So without further delay, okay, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get right into it. Okay. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is the timing points. As Philip said, we understand that with the drill drawing that it's one of the most challenging things at the start. But once we get the logic behind it, once you understand it, you'll be off to the races. So let's create a new drill to start today. So we click Create New Drill, and we'll click on Animations. Okay, and then we'll click on the playing surface to start drawing. So let's put down 2 players. Automatically put here, and I'll put a right-handed player in white up here, and we'll label it as my right winger. So you can see that you can label players as numbers with no numbers, or you can put numbers on them. So first off, let's just talk about basic timing points. So once you have the players in position on your drawing board, then you go into action. Okay, so let's work with player number 1. So player number 1, when I click on number 1 to activate it, when you look down on the timing dot below, okay, every player by default starts at 0 seconds. So whenever I start moving that player is going to start at 0 seconds. So when I take that player, click on the player and just skate out to the blue line and stop. Okay. So you can see the player starts at 0 seconds and the player finishes at 3.64 seconds, going 20 kilometers an hour. Now, if I wish to slow down or speed up that player, I just take that last timing dot, and if I move it to the left, you can see the speed changing, whereas we're going to the same position with less time. So that means the player must skate faster, or we go longer where it slows the player down. So there your player is going 12 or 13 kilometers an hour. So that's how you adjust the speed on the timing points itself. And whenever you're unhappy with something, just click the undo button and undo, and it goes back to where you're starting from. So again, let's start with player number 1. Now, let's say we want player 1 to wait 1 second. So we advance that timing dot to 1 second. Okay. So now when I start the player skating out to the blue line and stop, okay, when I go into play mode, I hit play. The player will wait 1 second, skate out to the blue line and stop. Now, let's go back into action, and we'll do the same with the right winger. So the right winger, we're going to have the right winger wait for 2 seconds, okay? And then we'll have the player get out there and stop. But now what I can do is I can take that last timing dot and I can adjust it. And as you can see, as I adjust it back and forth, you can see player number 1 moving up top. So now I can move it so that player arrives at exactly the same time, but the player is going to be doing 30 kilometers an hour. So when I hit play, we wait 1 second, we wait 2 seconds, but now player 2 is going at the same, and they get there at the same time. So that's the basic adjustments on the timing points of it. So again, we'll just take this player, and now if I want to adjust it, I can just remove this timing dot, and I can do this either by using the undo button, or if I just want to use one player, I just go into, I click on the player and go down, and because there's no puck actions involved, I can remove those and go back to the start. Now, let's drop a puck down here and do a basic timing thing or basic passing. So now when I have the puck, again, it's best that when you drop a puck on the ice, drop it away from the player, because sometimes when I try to drop it onto the stick, it lights up the player. So I'll go to puck, I'll drop puck on the ice, I click on the puck, and I draw it into the player, just so it's touching the white and the stick. Now, when I go into action mode, I can click on the player, and now because that puck is within the red circle, I have the take option. So I take it. So now I'm a puck carrier. So my options are passing, shooting, or dump the puck. So let's just start skating. Okay, so we're going to start skating at 1 second here. And now this player, we're going to change that first timing dot. We want that first player to start skating at the same time. So we'll have the first player starting when we move that right there. You can see number 1 moving. And now we'll have the right winger starting. Now, you can see when I go back, when I move the right winger, you can see this gray timing dot, which is very useful when you're passing and knowing where the other player is on the ice whenever you're making a drill. So when I move up, that gray timing dot is underneath player number 1. That tells me that they're exactly at the same level. So the software would allow me to make a pass right now, but like on the ice, if I make a pass, a flat pass across here to the player, that player has to slow down or stop to get it. So I want to make the pass like on the ice out in front of the player so that the player will skate onto the puck. And the way that we do that is we just advance the right winger a couple of extra yards or meters, depending where you are. And now when I click on the puck carrier, you can see that that gray dot is like 2 meters or 2 yards behind the right winger, which means that that's where that right winger is at this particular time. So now when I pass the puck, so now the puck and the player will get here at the same time. So I click pass, I click the player, and now I continue skating, and we'll make another pass. So I'll advance num, watch the gray dot behind the right winger. So right there, they're even. I'll advance 1 a little bit. Okay, so we're like 2 meters behind, 2 yards behind, and I'll pass. And if my timing's correct, they should get to the red line at the same time. And just a little tip, coaches, when you're doing a stopping action, when you pull your player up into the position you want to stop, if you want to do a 2-skate stop, just come to this and just move your mouse or your stylus pen a little bit down, okay, just so the player snaps down, and it will look like a 2-skate stop. So let's do the same with the right winger. We'll come up to the red line and just move. I'll just move my mouse and stop. So now when we go back and we watch the play, there'll be a 1 second delay. Okay, they're going to pass, and you see there's no change of speeds. So they get there at the same time, and the timing is perfect. So that's just a little passing tip. Now, one other thing is that if we put another player in the mix here, and we'll put a defenseman here. Okay, and we'll put the defenseman in blue, and we'll label him as a D. Right? And then we're going to have the defenseman wait a little bit. So we're going to go down here to the first timing dot. We'll let those players leave right about here. Okay. And then we're going to skate out to the blue line, and we're going to stop right here and wait for a puck. Now, what I can do is, like right now with this player, if I want this player to wait, let's say for 1 second before they start skating back, all I have to do is down here, and you can see that you have a timing dot that's black and white. So whenever a player is stopped, and you're going to have a stop and go action, or the player is going to stop and then receive a puck or later on, it's always good to add 2 timing dots. Okay. Now, what I do when I do this, when I add the first one, it fixes that one. It becomes a white timing dot. And with the second one, this I can slide it to the right to create a space of time. So we get there at 6.5 seconds. So I'm going to slide this up to about 7.5 seconds. And I'm going to do the same with the right winger. So you can see that's a black and white one, which means it's active. Okay, when I hit it once, it turns white, and then I hit it again to create my timing dot, to create my space of time. And again, I'm going to move that to 7.5. And then we're going to start skating this way down to the blue line. Now, with this, okay, I'm going to take one step and I'm going to make a pass to this defenseman. Now, I can do this, but watch what happens if I don't put any timing points on that defenseman. Okay, so we run the drill and watch how slowly that defenseman is skating up to the blue line, because the software is going to tell it this is the time it has to get there to receive that puck. So what I have to do is I go back into action, I click undo, and then with the defenseman, we're going to have him skate over again. Okay, same starting point, but we'll skate up to the blue line and stop. And now we're going to add 2 timing dots. That's it. And now that fixes the player in place. So now when I come and I make my pass to the defenseman, okay, the defenseman's going to get it, step into the zone. And we'll act all these 3 players here. And now you'll watch the difference, and we'll just speed this up a little bit. Okay. Now you'll watch the defenseman skating at full speed, stops, takes the pass, and then steps into the zone. So that's how you avoid that little slow down or speed up. So generally what's happening, coaches, if your player is speeding up to get a pass, then the player is not in position, is too slow behind the play. And if the player is stopping or slowing down, well, then it's too far ahead. So it all has to do with the timing dots. But that's pretty much it. All we're going to talk with timing right now. But I encourage you to go into our website, hockeycoachvision.com, and into the support folder. And there's some great tutorials in there on timing point basics and advanced timing points. Okay, so that's all we're going to talk about right now. If you have a specific question about timing points, please put it in the Q&A, and I can always come back to that and answer your question at later on in the presentation. Okay, so I'm just going to discard this now. And we'll move on to the next part here. We're going to talk about editing. So we're going to work on this drill today. This drill is a little breakout drill, which is a youth breakout drill, which fits in well, I think, with a lot of the coaches that are watching today. Breakout basics to 2-on-1. So let's just watch the finish drill, what it looks like. So it starts with defenseman number 1 is going to skate up to the blue line. It's going to pivot backwards. It's going to go retrieve a puck, and then players 1 and 2 forwards, they come down the dot lane and then open up to the wall. They make a pass back to the center, and then they come out over the blue line around the coach and players, and then back in 2-on-1. Okay, nice little half zone drill, and very basic drill, and a good one to put in some good habits for their players. So let's first of all talk about editing. Okay, so now when I go to edit a drill, if I'm going to change something, what I'll do is I'll probably change the original, keep the original of my drill, and I'll go down here and I'll create a duplicate of it. Well, I'll create a copy of it. So I'm just going to click, I just click duplicate. So now I'm on the copy. Here's the original, here's the copy. So let's work on the copy of this. So to start editing the drill, okay, say I want to change something, or I'm not happy with the way it looks, or I want to change the passing pattern. I go into action mode, and now because that drill has been saved, I no longer have the undo option. So I must back up the players one at a time. Okay, so let's start with player number 2. Okay, so player number 2, I'm going to start backing up the player. I can click on that last timing point, remove it. But now when I get to this place right here, this passing one, this black pass or puck action, I do not have the remove option. That is because this action is involved with another player, and you can see it right here. It's this pass to player number 1. So because that player is involved with the puck action, I have to back up the other player as well. So I have to edit that player back to that point before I can move forward with the drill. So I go to player 1 and I start removing that player's moves. And you can see here's the action where they actually take the pass, and I can remove that. So now when I go back to player 2, now when I go down, I can remove that pass. And I would just back everything up and back everybody to the start. And then from here, I can start building my drill forward. Say we're not going to pass. He's just going to come around the top, And number one, same thing. Number one is instead of getting the pass, it's just going to come around the top, or it takes the pass out here. Let's do that. Okay, let's have the number one come out here and into a passing position where now when I click on here, I want to pass the puck when that gray dot is just slightly behind. Okay, so this should work out okay. Pass, pass, and then we're coming around the side and back in, and this player's coming around and then back in here too. Okay, so then we go back and we check our work. We can speed this up a little bit. And now we'll see that player 2 will come in, pivot to the wall, but now there's not going to be a pass. Now he's just going to skate with that puck out over the middle and make a pass to number 1, and then they'll come back in 2-on-1. And now when I have my changes, okay, I go up here to the top right. I click on this to save it. I can establish how much of the drill I want to show. Maybe we'll go around to about here. Actually, max. Let's go to the max, and then I would click done. And then what I have to do, I change my text, whatever, because we've changed the drill, and then I go down and I save it. So your all the changes you've made are not saved until you click that save button. And if you're not happy with the changes you made, you just click the discard button and it will take you back to the original drill. Okay. So now I've prepared another one. We're just going to work on this drill here today. So this is the same drill, but what I've done is I've backed everything out to the very basics of it. Okay. So we're going to go into edit mode on this and we're going to build this drill. So we have all the players in place. And again, you have the action up here in the top left. If I wanted to draw this drill on full ice, I can do this and then I can change the view and do a crossways view. But we're going to continue in the half zone, and we'll continue on it like this. So the first thing we're going to do, okay, the coach is going to take the puck, okay, and we're going to have this, and then I'm going to put on a timing dot on here because I want him to wait a little bit before he makes that play. And we'll start with defenseman number 1. So defenseman number 1 by default is going to be skating 20 kilometers an hour. And we have the options up here of 14 or 10, but in a full ice drill or a half zone drill like this, I think we'll have the players going full speed. So we'll have the player come up and make a nice rounded pivot. So you want to, just like on the ice, the defenseman's going to come up over the blue line, take kind of a half step to the side, and then I hit backwards. And then I'm going to round out that pivot that comes around. So it's going to look perfectly natural. And then when I'm backing up, I'm just going to move my mouse a little bit left and right like this to about this point. So we're just going to make it a real natural skating action. And now with the coach, I go down to that timing dot I dropped on there, and I can move that to the right, and you can see the defenseman skating. So right when we get about here, I'm going to have that the coach dump the puck off the end boards. So I click dump. I click the end boards, and then I have to make one more X because the puck's going to come off the end board. So I put the next, I click an X where I want the puck to finish right here, and then I click on it to fix it in position. Now, let's just go back and check this. And I think coaches, it's good to check your drawings every 3 or 4 moves that you make to make sure everything's okay. So player 1 comes up and you'll see a nice smooth pivot. Okay, the coach chips the puck in and we're ready to continue. So let's continue with our drill right now. So now this, about at this point, so we're about 6.7, the players down here. So now we're going to have the players moving into position. So let's start with player number 2. So player number 2, we want player number 2 want to wait a little bit till that coach puts the puck in play. So when we come down into here, okay, we can see that the puck is going, but to see exactly where he makes the pass, this is where the timing wheel comes in, very useful. So when I move this timing wheel, I can see everything that happens, including puck actions. So right here, there's the puck action by the coach, and that's when we want the forward to start. So now when I go back to the timing dot of number 2, I can move it up right underneath that timing wheel, and I know that forward will start at exactly that same time. So I'm going to have the forward skate down the dot here. Okay. I'm going to pivot backwards towards the wall. Okay. Right in here. And now I'm going to judge my timing when I get my defenseman in position. So now my defenseman's going to pivot to forwards. Okay, and I can see the other position of the forward over here. And that defenseman's going to come in and take a good angle to pick up that puck. And then I can see the take sign because the puck is now within the red circle of that number one player. And I can continue along here and I can see exactly where that player is. Now I'm going to be a little fast here. So I got to come into this area. And what I want the player to do now is pivot forwards and take the puck while they're playing forwards, while they're skating forwards. So with player number 2, I click forwards. And now when I'm moving it, I can see the position of number 1. And you can see that the gray dot is right here. Okay, so I'm going to come up to right about here. So when I make this pass, you can see the gray dot is about 1.5 yards behind here. So now I can make my outlet pass. Okay, so now let's just go back and we'll speed this up a little bit just to check the timing of the pass. Okay, it looks good. Now, did you notice the pivot of the defenseman? The defenseman is turning with his back on the puck. So the defenseman turns to the right and not to the left. And that's going to happen sometimes. But now to change that, I go into action and you can see the pivot right here. Okay, when I click on the pivot, it gives me the option of right or left. So I want that defenseman to pivot to the left. So I click left. So now when we go back in and we play that drill, watch the pivot now, and we'll do this one in 3D. So you can watch. I want you to see what a nice smooth pivot that defenseman makes up at the blue line. Nice smooth pivot and comes down and then pivots, eyes on the puck. Perfect. Okay, so now we can work on our centerman coming in. So again, we have to get that starting point. So here we have the starting point of right here where the number 1's going to start skating because number 2 starts skating then. So we'll slide the first timing dot of number 1 underneath that timing wheel. And now we can start skating with this forward right here. But now we're going to see that the defenseman commits to going to the other side. So now at this point, I might want to slow down or change my speeds. So how I do that is with the timing point. So you can see right now that timing point is black and white. So when I add just one timing dot, that fixes that first part of that skating pattern. So he's going to be 20, but now I want the player maybe to slow down in this area right here to get underneath that winger. Okay, we'll just take this one and slow him down a little bit right here to about 16. And then we'll have him speed up again. Okay, because we're going to have, there you can see the number 2 is just ahead. So we always want to have that angle in here where that centerman's coming in low and slow. But you always want to have the players, or at least it's easier to make passes to players that are skating a default speed, because the software will automatically adjust the player to get in the right position at that time. So you have this default speeds up here, 14 and 10. So I could use a default speed to have that, or I could just adjust it. But when I go back to the point where I want to take the pass, I want to be skating one of the default speeds. Okay. So now I'm going to click pass. Okay. And then the pass is good. And then these players are going to come out and around and then back in to the zone here for the 2-on-1. My number 2 player is going to come out and around, and you can see, okay, where I am right now, you can see that gray dot is right here. So this player he's not going as far as this player. So we're going to slow this player down a little bit. So I take this last timing dot and I just move it, slow him down a little bit. And then I'll have him come down inside the coach. And now you can see right here when I'm close to the blue line, I don't want to go offside. So I take that last timing dot again for number 2, and I just adjust it so that the number 1 goes over the blue line, and then I can go back to full speed skating. Okay, and I'll stop right there. Now with the defenseman, okay, the defenseman, he's going to continue up right to the blue line and make that pivot. Now he's going to be a little, you can see I just skated like in behind this player. So let's slow the defenseman down a little bit. So we get the defenseman in position, and then we'll make this backwards pivot. And again, maybe we'll slow down the pivot after the pivot a little bit to those the forwards are in position. So I've slowed him down. And now I'll back into the position I want to be. And I can see where the gray dots end right there. and that's where we'll end the drill. So let's take a look at the whole drill now. The defenseman comes up, makes a nice smooth pivot. Coach fires the puck off the end walls. Both the forwards are reading the D. We open up, eyes on the puck. The centerman's low and slow underneath. And then we're up and then into the blue line over the zone, and then we're back in, everybody's on side, and the drill's good to go. All right. Now, to save my drill, I go up here on the right. I click my right. I'm going to set the picture of it. We'll go to the max amount of, we'll go to the max on this one to show the diagram. I'll click done. And then you can see it's, this one's called, we'll just leave the same name on it, and we save it. Okay, then we save it. Now, before I do this, I want to show you one more thing. So when I click on this and I go into play mode, I don't know if you're aware, but you also have the option of putting audio on it. So now while I'm play mode, whether I'm editing or whether I'm creating the drill, I can go down here and I can turn my mic on. Okay. And now to start the drill playing, where I can record my voice on it, I just click the red recording button. So the defenseman one steps up over the blue line and then pivots backwards. The coach will chip a puck off of the end wall. Defenseman one will retrieve it and then make an outlet pass to player 2 on the wall as player 1 comes in low and slow through the center, and they both go out, back up over the players and the coaches, and come back in 2-on-1. So now when you take a look down below, you'll see that there's a speaker icon on there, and you'll be able to hear your voice. So the defenseman one steps up over the line and then pivots backwards. Coach will chip the puck off of the end wall. Okay. So now if your players don't understand the drill after watching it in 2D, in 3D, and listening to your voice, then maybe they should be playing a different sport. But just kidding. All kidding aside, it's very useful to have this. And when I save this drill now, when I go in and save it, and again, we'll show the max, and I'll save it. So now when you take a look at your drill in your drill file, you'll see a little speaker icon here that tells you that there's an audio file on it. And now when I click on that drill, if I'm in the dressing room presenting it and I don't want to have the audio on, I just go down here, click on this, and that turns the audio off and it just plays normally. Okay. Now that's the end of the drill drawing part of it. Do we have any questions in, Philip? The guys or the coaches sent any questions in yet?
No, this time no questions. So
there's at this point, if you'd like to have a question, just raise your hand, and we can either do it over the Q&A, or we can turn your mic on and we can talk directly onto the in the app. And there are no bad questions or stupid questions, guys. Only stupid answers. So feel free. And again, I think all of you do have my address. Or my email address. It's larry.huras@coachvision.ch. And anytime you have any questions or want help with anything or would like to do possibly a one-on-one, we can go into it and do a drill drawing coaching session. So we have Jamie Chapman.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Jamie.
If I was setting up an offensive play in the offensive zone, and I wanted to show options, how would is there a way to draw that without the motion? But so it's a drop pass into the corner. Winger goes in, picks it, passes the puck around to the weak side, F3 that drops down below the goal line. Now they have, say, weak side D coming into the dot area, and the original puck carrier swinging around into the high slot. So now the F3 has 2 options.
Right.
Or 3 options, actually: step out and make the pass to the back door or high slot, or the D coming in. Can I draw that without motion?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So let's go back in, and this is a pretty cool option that we have. So let's just draw an example. So we'll create a new drill, and we'll just put in a couple of players. We'll put a left-handed centerman up here, and by default, coaches, all the players land on the ice. They're facing to the right. So activate the player and come around. And I'll put my right winger over here, number 2. Okay, so I'm just going to show you, not the exact same play, but I'm going to show you one with options, okay? So just to show you how I would do that. So we'll start with a defenseman, and we'll make the defenseman a right-hander is fine. Okay, and we'll put a coach with a puck right here. Okay, with the puck. All right, and we'll just do a little simple breakout draw, and I'll show you how I would do that. So coach is going to take the puck, and we'll just have him dump it in right away. Just have him dump it in off the end wall. Okay, and we'll just have the player skating right away. We won't do any kind of delay. So the defenseman the defenseman's going to start skating backwards. Okay, skating backwards, and then pivot forwards, and then come in, take a good angle to that puck, pick up the puck. Okay, and then I'm going to stop that player right there. Now, centerman, okay, he's going to swing out. Okay, and I want the centerman coming through low and slow. So I'm going to have that centerman slow down a little bit right here, because I want him below the winger. And then he'll accelerate into position where you could possibly get a pass. Now with the winger, okay, the winger is going to come slowly, like down the wall here, and then set up. So I'm going to slow that winger down. Okay, as the defenseman's going back to pick up the puck. I click backwards, and then I'm just going to have the player pivot to the wall, and then take one step forwards. Okay, and then slow that down. So you can see where the gray dots are, gray dots, gray dots. So now, okay, the players come to a stop. Now it's this point, Jamie, we're talking about showing options. So the defenseman has an option to come up the middle, or he has the option to go to the player on the wall. Now there's a couple different ways I might do this. One way is I might save what I have right now, and then create two different movement options where I'm going to duplicate the drill, and I'll show the first one with maybe a pass up the center, but then the second one, I will finish it differently and show it a pass up the wall. Now, to answer your question about showing it the different options in a static position, what I'll do with these three players is I'll use the timing points. So I'm going to get this player. I'm going to add, so that player gets there at about a little over 5.2 seconds. I'm going to add 2 timing dots, and I'm going to move that up to 8 seconds. Okay, 8 seconds. And I'll do the same with these other players. Add 2 timing dots to create a space of time where that players are waiting. I'll move that up to 8 seconds. Okay, and the same with the winger. 2 timing dots, and we'll move that up to 8 seconds. So no action is going to occur before 8 seconds. Now, this is where we can use in our objects mode, we can use the different shapes and text boxes, and I can add arrows. So for example, I'm going to show an arrow that's red, and I could just touch this here, and I can show one passing option here. Okay, and another passing option here. Now, I want those arrows to pop in at about 5.5 seconds. So I go back into action mode. I click on the arrow, and just like the players, I can now set the timing of this. So I know that player gets there at 5.2 seconds. So we'll have the arrows pop in at 5.5. And because the players are going to start at skating at 8, maybe we'll have it finish at 7.5. Okay. And we'll do the same with the other arrow. Okay. So that's going to be 5.5 and 7.5. So now when we go into play, okay, so now we go back, player pivots, picks it up, and now we want to talk about options. Okay, so now my options are there, and then the player starts skating again. So now at this point, got right into the arrow there. Okay, there we go. And player's going to come up here. And I click pass, and we're away to the races. And I can also put a text box in. Okay, so if I wanted to go in here and I go into shapes, and I would do the same with the text box, and then might put in, I'm going to put the writing in black, and I'm going to say just 2 options. All right, and then I put that down here, and the same thing, I would have that pop in. I go into action, and we'll have 5.5. Okay, and 7.5. So now when we go to play it, it looks pretty cool. And we'll watch it in 3D. Okay, so that's pretty much how I would do that, Jamie. I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. For a complex, offensive zone option that, helps break it down and teach it even easier. I have a breakout that I'm teaching them, and some of them are not getting it. So I think if I can put this into the coach's vision with those options, I'm laughing because it's going to be so understandable. Even with the
Exactly,
mic
and you
on
can
and
even, like, one thing, if you really get into mad scientist mode, you can play it through the eyes of the player in first person so they can see exactly what the options are. Let's say if you wanted to show the defenseman what his options are, you could play it through his eyes and show him the arrows
yeah,
on the ice.
yeah,
I said, here are your
absolutely.
options. You got middle, low, and slow, or you've got option on the wall. But when you get into complex drills like that, where you have multiple options, I think it helps to stop the drill, create that space of time, put in your arrows, your options, and then continue the drill on from there.
Okay. No, perfect. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Any other questions? So far, there's no other questions. I would maybe suggest like we pick a question from yesterday, Larry. We had someone, because we have youth coaches here today, we had, even though those are not kids, but yesterday someone asked for station drills. Like, how would you solve station drills? How would you display those?
Sure,
So-
that's a great question. So a lot of coaches, especially like in youth coaches, we do a lot of circuit training. So let me just get rid of this wonderful drill. You want me to send this to you, Jamie?
No,
Anyway,
no, I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
okay, okay.
I
I thought you might.
appreciate it
It's
though.
such a
Thanks.
such a beautiful breakout. I thought maybe you might want to keep that. So let's get rid of this. Okay, let's get rid of this, and let's just take a look at circuits. Okay, so if I go up here and I just click in on my word search, circuits, okay, we can see that we have these different circuits up here on the side. So we have full ice, and we have like what we call a template. So when we go into these, like for example, we have these different circuits that we have. Okay, so you create all these different circuits. But what I would do, and the way that I do it, because in each of these, there's always a play option. So if you look at the top left, okay, there's a little 2-on-2 game going on here. Okay, so, and then the other ones are just individual like drills or exercises that are going on. So what I would do, like for example, this one here that's marked template. Okay, so this is where I create, and this is like a 5 zone, 4 zone, where I've got a drill over here going, a drill over here going. I've got a bigger area drill going, and then I've got a 4-on-4 game going in the middle. So what I would do is create this 4-on-4 game, because the small area games take the longest to complete. And then what I do is save it, okay? And then I can duplicate it. So what I do is I can create these templates, and then I can finish them different ways to create a series of different circuits, okay? And for example, if I have one drill that I use a lot, I might create a template with a small area game and maybe one with the drill. So that leaves me 3 or 4 other stations to do other circuits. And I think that, Philip, there's another way too that one of our clients use as well for showing and using circuits.
Yeah, for sure. So I will quickly share my screen and see you another option. So if what you saw on Larry's example is that everywhere you had small area games. So we could also use a package, like create a package. I have here one prepared, and you could make like some kind of template that you put as a first file to mark the zone. So I've created here with the shapes tool that Larry showed before. I created a red, a yellow, blue, and green zone. And then I'm actually writing here that drill number 2 is on the red zone. So this drill will be at the top left. This one will be at the top right, and so on. So you have the description here. So that means you can exchange drills whenever you want. You just pick another drill and drag and drop it on the package, another small area game. And like that, also keep in mind you can add video drills. And yeah, you write here the time. So to add it up, each of these drills, I write here that they The teams play 10 minutes on each of the drills, and then it rotates after 10 minutes so that everyone gets to be once on one of the stations.
Yeah, so there's multiple ways, coaches, that we can go ahead and create circuits and display our circuits. It's a great tool, because what's really useful, especially with the circuit training, is a lot of times that we have volunteer coaches, parent coaches that are maybe not all that experienced. And it's great to say, okay, Coach John, you're in position 1. Coach Mary, you're in position 3. This is what your responsibilities are. And then you can show them exactly what's going on. So here's an example where you can show the animation, and you can also show a video for more detail. Great little game. Okay, very good. Are there any more? If there's no more questions, and again, please get in touch, coaches, if you have anything. Larry.Huras, that's Huras, at coachvision.ch. And I'll be happy to answer your questions. Or if you need a little extra help with the drill creator, working on timing points or whatever, just get in touch. I'd be very happy to jump on a Zoom call with you to do a little one-on-one Zoom session.
Thanks, Larry. And thanks everyone for joining in. And we hope this helped a little bit. And we look forward to see your results.
Thank you for
Send
putting
us
this
all your
on.
championship pictures. We'll post them on our social medias.
Sorry,
Thanks for
James.
putting this on.
It.
It definitely helped out a lot.
Cool. Good to
Thanks
hear.
for joining, Jamie. Good looking dog.
Thanks.
All right. Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
coaches.